My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Monster in My Podcast.
And this is the Faceless God.
There's a monster in my podcast.
Never would I have thought that I would get so sick of Egypt doing this show.
Yeah. Did anybody place a bet on what was going to be the tedious thing about this season? Because if somebody said Egypt, they would be right.
Yep. Yeah, and I hope that was like a 100-to-1 payout kind of thing for Dr. Dealgood, because it was not going to, I would not have guessed.
No.
I was assuming tentacles.
Yes.
And when every once in a while there's just like a tentacle monster, but unless Derleth did it, generally there's something to it.
Yeah, generally it's made of tentacles, but it does something cool to people's bodies.
Yeah. There's a curse or an oath or a disease or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's sphinxes and pyramids,
which
makes sense for Nyarlathotep. He's got that pharaoh name, but it's just, there's just not a lot to this.
Yeah.
It's a worse sphinx with dumber animals making up its body, and it has no face and it has no cult.
Yeah.
It's the Lord of the Desert and the Master of Delirium. I demand this be cooler for being called the Master of Delirium.
Yeah. So the thing that I highlighted about this is, so people who are in the desert, they can fall under the sway of the Faceless God. He creates hallucinations while people are lost in the desert. And you take real sanity. You take sanity losses as though the things you see in the hallucinations are real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just this seems really petty. It's more petty than Nyarlathotep ought to be, but those driven to insane deaths whisper homage to Nyarlathotep with their final breath. I'm just picturing Nyarlathotep as this person does that, just doing a tiny fist bump. Yes, got another one.
Yeah, every time Nyarlathotep drives you insane, you have to call your girl Nyarlathotep when you come in her.
It's like that Nedroid where Reginald gets broken up with because he calls his girlfriend Voldemort.
It's weird though. So this does not give you those hallucinations when you're in the desert.
Oh yeah.
It gives you hallucinations of being lost in the desert. Isn't that amazing?
It's less cool than I thought it was.
Yeah, it's way less cool. That is really neat. And typical hallucinations include being followed by dark, ominous figures.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Being stalked by horrible monsters. It seems like it's included in the first one, but okay. Yeah. And then being lost in the desert, which I do not want to be lost in the desert. That's a legit fear that I have.
And being lost is one of my big anxiety triggers too.
Yeah. Can't you find a more visually interesting hallucination?
Yeah.
If you can hallucinate anything.
Well, it's just because everything is tied to Egypt. But here's the thing about Egypt. Yeah, there's a lot of desert. The primary thing about Egypt was that river and how fertile it made the land around it. So
there's a reason it's just, it was there. There's also major cities in it.
Yes.
It's a culture and civilization and stuff.
It's one of the oldest in human history. Yeah. Weird.
Oh boy, Robert Bloch.
Bloch, you done fell off.
Stick to Oedipus, my man.
Brought to you by our backers at patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv.